Hello, everyone. This is Jimmy Colders, back again with another Godzilla Minus One sculpting video. I guess you could sort of view this as a tutorial. It's more of like a just hang back and watch me work kind of thing. But there's some useful tips to be learned, and we're going to get right down to business, of course. Got my reference photos open, so let's get down to sculpting. We're going to want a sphere in a smear shape, and I hate how it resets when you press triangle, but whatever. We're going to go in here and try to get this color right with the color picker if you're ever interested. And we will, of course, want mirror clipped. If you want to remove that little thing in the center, you can also do that. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not, kind of depends. Surface snap. And we're going to be improving some of these things later, like, I have some ideas about how I could really, take it to the next level with the surface detail. Nothing too fancy, but it would, kind of improve him a bit. This is kind of like the basic scale formations or whatever. He's got very jagged and rough skin, I think, so we're going to need a little bit more than just carved lines if we want to reproduce what's in the film. We want to have some little scales and things sticking out. This will do for now, though. Once I get the surface down, it's going to be easier from there. The main area where stuff like this helps out is when puppets are exposed to extreme light, you want the surface light to be refracted properly. And having all these little grooves and bumps helps quite a bit with that. Makes it look pretty good. You can actually paint most of this stuff. Like if you're pretty good at painting, a trick I used to do is I would just paint all the details. And it looks nice in direct, like in sunlight. But if you put a spotlight on the creature, it kind of reveals that they're smooth as a, as an egg, and it looks kind of weird. So I started putting all these little surface details, literally into the puppet, as opposed to just using the spray paint method. But if you're trying to be economical, I might actually advise the spray paint method. It cuts down on sculpt detail, I'll tell you that. Very economical. Kind of depends on what sort of game you're making. Sometimes I think it'd be fun to make like sort of a throwback game, I don't know. Has like PS2 style graphics. They kind of have that painted on element where like, things just kind of look like a flat texture. There's more to recreating those kind of styles, though, than just the sculpt itself. Like, even if you, say make PS1 Crash Bandicoot, you're going to want the right kind of lighting in the scene and the right kind of, draw distance and stuff in order to fool people properly. You can't just, make a sculpt in that style and expect it to look right, because there's a lot more that goes into these games than just, oh, the sculpt looks blocky or whatever. I don't think I've ever tried to go that retro before, though. I don't know. Seems kind of pointless to me. like making things in the style of PS1. I suppose some people like it. I guess it would be fun from a technical perspective, like just getting it to look right in Dreams. I think people have done this, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not really deep into that stuff, so I haven't really been paying attention. I don't really think, though, that the artistic, the thing that people like about PS1 games, I personally don't think it's the bad graphics. Like, I don't think it's the blocky, polygonal, like, I know some people are like, oh, that's charming and nostalgic. I don't think that's actually what they're nostalgic for, though. It's a certain kind of, like, mindset and design process that was heavily used in those days, and it was due to hardware limitations. I don't think it's actually impossible to translate the same feeling with much more advanced graphics. I think the vibe is transmittable, it's just people don't really know how to do it. Because sometimes limitations, you know, they create art. Usually the best thing about them is they force people to get creative in a way that they normally wouldn't. When everything is at your fingertips, you get lazy. You're like, how do I make, you know, Spider-Man swing from buildings? It's like, well, if you can just do this easily, then all of a sudden you get lazy about it. Things become boring. But when you don't, you know, when you have to be tricky about it, you start making interesting decisions. You're like, well, maybe we could fool people. You know, maybe it looks like he's swinging from a building, but he's not actually. You know, we have like some kind of illusion. I think a big part of early PS1 games and their vibes is the draw distance being really low. It's one thing I remember from all the games I used to play. When they remade Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, they fixed the draw distance, you know, because of course modern machines are not limited by draw distance. But it sort of changes the atmosphere, and I feel like you could still translate that. Like there was this one level in Spyro 2 where they had this jungle, and it was like, because of the draw distance, and because of the colors they picked, it looked foggy, like it was all gray, and it was kind of misty, and it's like a swamp or something. And I was, you know, I remember that level from when I was a child. When I got the remake, I was like, oh, I'm interested in what they do with that, you know, because I remember that level. What does it look like now? And they just kind of turned it into this generic sunset jungle, and it didn't really feel the same at all. It's like you should have put some fog in there, or at least made it an overcast day instead of sunset. It's like they just don't know how to translate that vibe for some reason. Or maybe they just didn't like the original level, maybe they thought it was stupid. I mean, it still had the same layout and the same enemies and everything, it just didn't feel the same. But the limited graphics, I guess, I don't know. Maybe they contribute to the vibes. Perhaps I am incorrect. It just seems to me that there's like a happy medium. You don't necessarily have to have everything look chunky and blocky for it to work. Gotta talk about something, though, when you're working on a dinosaur's butt. I would have to say, though, talking on the subject of remakes and such, I felt like the Crash Bandicoot remake was slightly better than the Spyro one. I know people don't have a problem with either, you know, they're pretty good remakes, I would say, for the most part. I just felt like the Crash Bandicoot one somehow felt more authentic than the Spyro one. They changed a lot of things in the Spyro one. Not that change is necessarily bad. But you know, if you're looking for a hardcore retranslation, one thing I kind of like about early games, they have this kind of amateur vibe that I like. As in, the people, you know, because it was early and they were trying to figure out all this stuff that's commonplace now, you know, like how do you make platforming controls and stuff. Because of that, it kind of almost feels like something made in Dreams. It has that kind of like, you know, amateur, you know, made by a person quality. It's like everything, when it gets mass-produced, it's true that it probably works better, you know, it probably is less frustrating. But I don't know, there's something charming about things not quite being that polished to me. It really depends on your taste, I suppose. A good example is this game that I like quite a bit, Jedi Outcast. It's like an old Star Wars game. But the navigation in it would probably be considered very obtuse by modern standards. Like, they don't give you a lot to go off of. There's not very good direction or hints as to where to go next. Personally, I think it's okay, the way they did it. But, you know, to a modern person, it probably would be really annoying and really aggravating. And I had never played this game back when it came out, so I don't have any nostalgia for it. You know, I'd never experienced it. I think I did see someone else play it, but I never actually, you know, did it myself. And I didn't really have anything to think about it back then, except, oh, nice graphics. But, I played it, I think back in I want to say 2017 or sometime thereabouts. Jedi Outcast on the PS4. I don't know if that is the inferior version or not. But it was really fun. I liked it. And the primary thing that I liked about it most was the fact that it was obtuse and it didn't tell me where to go. It expected me to figure everything out, and there were some times where I would get stuck for hours looking for the way out. You know, how to progress forward. And it would turn out to be this like tiny little hole in the wall or something that I hadn't noticed. And of course, you know, if you're somebody who is working a job, you're probably really frustrated. You know, like, I'm trying to relax, and I just want to play a few hours of gaming, and I don't want to sit around looking for a hole in the wall. But at the time I was working, and I thought it was fun. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a person who enjoys torturing myself. But I liked it because when I actually ended up finding the solution, and I did find it out, I never looked up any of this stuff. I refused to watch any Let's Plays or any, information on where to find the next, entrance or exit. Because it was just way more fun that way. And as a result, it felt highly rewarding every time I discovered the actual way they expected me, to progress. Now, there were a few other things that were clunky about the game, like the first-person shooting was a bit wonky by modern standards. Kind of clunky, Man, how long have we been working on this lizard's butt? Anyway, it was clunky. They also had some lightsaber combat. I've heard people say that Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast have the best lightsaber combat in video games. I guess that's true. I don't really care too much. Here's the thing. I'm not really much of a Jedi guy. I know a lot of people who are into Star Wars are like, I want to play as the Jedi. I mean, when I was a kid, I guess, I was like, oh, that's cool. It's a Jedi. But, I don't know. I just don't think I'm a major Jedi person. I've always been more into blasters and shooting things. I don't know. Like, if I'm going to play a Star Wars game, I would rather play as someone like Boba Fett. Or, that game that came out back on the PS2 with Jango Fett, Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Something like that is more my style. I don't know. I just think Jedi are kind of... They suffer from Superman syndrome, which is they're boring because they're overpowered. Also, they're kind of restricted as to what they can do, because Jedi cannot, do anything, shall we say, morally ambiguous. Like in Star Wars Bounty Hunter, they would let you shoot civilians, and I know this isn't exactly something that you have to have in a Star Wars game. And I know that shooting civilians, is morally repugnant in a technical sense. But it's just more fun playing as the bad guy in a Star Wars game, for the most part. Not that there's no fun in playing as the good guy. But every once in a while, we need a game where we could play as Boba Fett or Darth Vader. I'm trying to think if there's any actual modern examples of this, in at least not modern, but recent. Recent examples where they let you play as the bad guy in a Star Wars game. Is there even one? Now, I saw this VR game once. It was called, like, Lord Vader or something, and I was like, oh, that's probably the game where you play as Darth Vader. And it turns out it's not. It's like, you play as some person trying to fight Darth Vader. So, yeah, and that's the only thing I remember seeing where I was like, oh, you can definitely play as the bad guy. I guess in Battlefront you can play as the bad side, you can play as the Empire, or you can play as the heroes that the Empire has. So maybe that's your evil fix, if you're looking for it. And of course you can play the older games where they gave you copious amounts of, being able to play as the bad guys. In most of those old Star Wars games, they would let you play as either, the good side or the bad side. Depends. Not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. In Jedi Academy, I guess, they let you make... they let you turn evil at the end of the game, and sort of. with modern Star Wars games, I don't really see a lot of things like Star Wars Bounty Hunter, you know, where they let you play as a bounty hunter, or someone just... Bounty hunters aren't even necessarily immoral, they're just mercenaries. It's like they just go where the money is, which I guess you could say is immoral because they have no scruples about, you know, killing the good people if they're paid to, but... I just didn't... I don't know. When did Star Wars get to be so moralistic in the first place? Are we really taking it that seriously that we're like, oh, you're killing Luke, but Luke is good? It's like, yes, he's good, but why can't I kill him if I want to? Why can't I kill rebels? Also, you've got to admit, a few rebels have it coming. A few rebels are irksome and are better off dead. Not Han Solo or, you know, Lando Calrissian. I'd say that's probably some of the better rebels. Trying to think of someone who deserves death. Dash Rendar, maybe? No. Probably not. I don't even know if Dash Rendar exists anymore in canon. Wears sausages on his shoulders. Sausage links. Maybe Nine Nub, maybe he deserves death. I know in Battlefront, a lot of those heroes can be very annoying. You know, because of their abilities, not so much their actual character. Lando Calrissian, he could be kind of annoying in Battlefront. At least the modern EA ones. I don't think he was even playable in the old Pandemic Battlefront. I might not mind being able to shoot Kyle Estes or whatever his name is. I think that's his name. I think I'd shoot him if he was in a video game. Actually, when I think about it, most of the highly shootable people just so happen to be all the new additional characters. Interesting how that works. Like Sabine, for instance. If I was playing a video game, that would be a highly killable target. Something, you know, that you would probably enjoy killing. But Lando, you know, you'd be like, oh, that's Lando. I don't want to kill him. And Ezra Bridger probably would kill him. I'm actually having a hard time thinking of any classic Star Wars characters I would like to kill. Let me think. From the OG trilogy. Pruneface? No, not even Pruneface, honestly. Speedjack? Yeah, I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I can't think of anybody I would rather kill in the OG trilogy, at least on the Rebels side. That's weird. I never thought about that before. Almost everybody I would ever want to shoot in a Star Wars video game on the Rebel side is from the post-Disney purchase. How strange. I guess a lot of people would shoot Jar Jar Binks, but he's not really a rebel. Personally, controversial opinion, I don't have a big problem with Jar Jar Binks. Not that I don't see some of people's criticisms of Jar Jar, I just don't think he's a big deal. I don't know. When I was a kid, I liked him. Didn't have a big problem with Jar Jar. And when I got older, I'm just like, I don't know. He's there. Who cares? I don't think there are too many characters in the prequels that are annoying. Truly annoying. I'm talking about, like, actually annoying. I think sometimes people are very sensitive. Like, they think little Anakin is annoying. It's like, is he, though? Is he really annoying compared to some other things? I guess I might shoot Watto. Maybe I would shoot Watto. If I was hard-pressed in a Star Wars video game, I would shoot Watto, because Watto is repulsive looking, at least. I don't know if I really have a problem with his character, he just looks ugly. Now with the new trilogy, if you technically count Solo, is Solo canon? I guess it is. I mean, Disney says it is. If you count Solo as canon, and technically it's set in the original trilogy, technically, I probably would kill Han Solo in that movie, and I probably would kill Lando, and I probably would kill everybody, honestly. I might leave Darth Maul alive. Presumably I'm IG-88 or something in this scenario. Or Dengar. I don't know who I'd be playing as in this video game where you fight Han Solo. But yeah, I just kill the whole cast of Solo Star Wars story. Everyone would be dead. Probably would kill the whole cast of Rebels as well. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but Disney certainly doesn't seem to have a... At least in my opinion, they don't seem to have a very good track record with creating characters I wouldn't want to kill. Not sure why that is. Like, take Yoda, for instance. You know, like, if you put me in a situation where I had to kill Yoda, I'd be like, well, that's Yoda. I suppose I'll kill him because it's the objectives, but, you know, I don't really want to kill Yoda. It's like pretty much everybody. I can't think of a character, a new Disney character I would not kill without hesitation in a video game. Poe? Yeah, I probably wouldn't kill Poe. Poe gets to live. And some characters, I guess, don't count. I would actually kill Luke to put him out of his misery. Luke in the new trilogy is a pretty sad character. Probably deserves death. Now, Finn, ordinarily I'd say I might not kill Finn. However, after playing Battlefront 2, I would kill Finn. Finn is annoying, and he deserves to die. I'm sorry. Just has to be that way. He has auto-aim. He has basically an aimbot built into him as a special ability. He deserves death. Yeah, there's a lot of characters. I don't know what it is. I guess Battlefront 2 just does not make you like people in general, because a lot of those characters in Battlefront 2 are just so annoying to fight. Maybe that's the fault of the devs. Maybe it's imbalanced or something. It just feels like there's a lot of cheap shots, you know? Like, people have abilities. It's like Darth Vader has Force Choke, and he has Lightsaber Throw, and then someone else has, like, auto-aim, and, like, all this stuff that's, like, just really cheap and requires no skill to use whatsoever. I think Captain Phasma might be a really big offender in terms of just that droid. If you've played Battlefront 2, you probably know about that droid. Provided you play, you know, heroes versus villains, and not the main mode. I guess the droid's pretty annoying normally, but when you have a bunch of infantrymen with guns, it's not so bad. You can still take it out. Also, the amount of grenades. It's kind of an interesting, what do you call it? Irony that in Star Wars Battlefront, if you had a load of infantrymen in HVV, they would probably decimate the heroes just because, you know, not only do they have more numbers, but they have better gear. Like, Han Solo, I guess he does have a bomb, and it's pretty good, you know, but they can just continuously throw explosives at the hero and whittle them down, and they, you know, you could pretty much make it your living to kill these people if you really want to. There's so much, you know, useful gear at your disposal. I think we're finally reaching the end of this lizard in his butt. Well, I guess technically this isn't his butt, this is his hip. Gosh, though, that took a long time. get to work on the chest before I die of old age. I'll say one thing for video games, they certainly don't seem to respect your intelligence. Maybe they would be right, I don't know. But it's like, here's a special ability for your hero. It's called the win button. It's like, oh thanks. I really needed that. I mean, maybe I'm not one to talk. Maybe my game's pretty generous with the win buttons. I don't know. But most of that's just because I'm limited, you know. I'm trying to make the most simplistic thing possible. If I had like a full team, I probably wouldn't make it that simple. A lot of scales, that's for certain. Not even a lot of thinking that has to go into this part. It's mostly just pure grind away. Yeah, at least we're getting better. Closer to our goal, which is completion of the entity. Analog horror. Godzilla ate my dog. or something. And my neighbor didn't like it. And my neighbor is a mummy. Let's go ahead and get the back. We might be able to improve this a little bit later. I almost want to get the neck knocked off. Maybe the face also. Although we're gonna have to do some modifications here and there. Alright, I think we're gonna start work on the face. Take the plunge. Might want to get a picture of the face just to help out. Let's look this up real quick. I think we're getting somewhere. As I may have mentioned before, a big part of this is imagining what it'll look like once all the things have come into place. Hey, I think he's starting to look good. Kind of. You know, that kind of, almost there, but not quite. I will be giving him some paint details to help highlight certain things. Get it as close as I can to what they did in the film. I imagine they put a lot of work into animating this thing. Seems reasonable to guess. Certainly was worth it in terms of the finances versus the payoff. So yeah, they got back the money. I probably ought to watch the movie sometime. Yeah, looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and get the jaw real quick. We are going to be adding extra details though. He really has a lot of jagged scales. The only other fellow, I believe, at least Godzilla related, there are two Godzillas that I've sculpted that have these jagged protruding scales in the past. One of them is, you know, they're both ones that I invented. But, well, sort of. When I say invented, I mean I took existing Godzilla concepts and kind of made my own design out of it, or whatever. Messed around with it a bit. So don't ever quote me as saying that I invented anything concerning Godzilla. But, yeah, Neo Godzilla, he kind of had a little bit of spines, but the one who really had jagged protrusions was Ghost Godzilla. There's a few similarities, I think. Based off what I've heard. Probably due to both the creators of the film, Godzilla Minus One, and myself drawing inspiration from the original Godzilla in terms of behavior, shall we say. Because, you know, old Godzilla was bad. He was mean. Godzilla 54, that is. That's probably where it comes from. And since I released the campaign recently, people have been asking me to, you know, try sending that script in to Toho again. The only problem is I don't really know where to find their address. It's very difficult, a lot more difficult than you'd think. Probably because Toho is a very complex organism. It has a lot of branches. You want to send it to the right one. You don't want their real estate branch receiving the script for a Godzilla film. Also, I feel like at this point my script would be a bit redundant. You know, I feel like Godzilla Minus One more or less covered the retro Godzilla 50s market. Anyway, there's his jaw sorted out. Guess we could get a little bit of his midsection. Probably will be out of time soon. But, you know, certainly would help the thumbnail to have him looking mostly complete. It's kind of why I didn't finish up his back section. I figured we're going to want a good thumbnail for Marty to work with. Marty is always yammering about the thumbnails. He wants them to be intriguing to the audience. And he has demanding specifications. I suppose Marty would know. Him being a, you know, a seasoned veteran of YouTube. Oh wait, actually I don't think he is. Well, he just seems to know. He just seems to know what he wants, and he gets it. Well, I think we pretty much have run out of time, so we're pretty far along, I'd say. It's a decent strike in the right direction. We're going to have to add more stuff on top of this. Also, haven't even begun to work on the tail and the feet. I imagine that will go quicker, though, than this did. Also, the dorsal fins need work, but we're going to give a quick shout-out to our monthly supporters on Coffee. There they go, wonderful people. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. If you wish to support our earnest insanity, you can check the links in the description to donate or buy merch. Until next time, goodbye.